Thanks for tuning in. Today we have a very special guest, Summer Stephens, who is a DA for San Diego. And for those of you out there who don't know, San Diego is the 5th largest county in America. So she covers an area, a huge geographical area, including a border to Mexico. And San Diego County has about 3.7 million. So the DA is somebody who prosecutes felonies as opposed to the city attorney. So we're really honored. We're going to talk to her about what's going on with the crime, what's going on with the border, and a lot of other things. This is going to be really interesting. So let's go. Thank you.
I'm excited to be with you.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Before we start, you got elected to a very big position. I'd like you to talk to you about. What is the position you just got elected to?
As president-elect.
Nominated.
As president-elect of the National District Attorneys Association. Right. It's kind of the umbrella group for all of the district attorneys across the United States. And so it provides a voice for law enforcement and prosecution. We advocate in Congress about different support for victims of crime, different policies. It's an exciting position, and the organization has a 75-year history, and I'm honored to have that kind of trust.
How many women have held that position?
So I'll be the third woman in 75 years.
Yeah.
There you go. That's
Congratulations.
Breaking a glass ceiling.
So you obviously know what you're doing. It's a heavy job. You deal with the worst things people can do. And sometimes you have to even, talk to the victims' parents. But I'd like to just start off right away by saying, what's going on? We see these crimes. We see these people rushing into stores, into Rite Aids and all the big box stores and taking whatever they want. And there's a no-touch policy. And more and more, it's getting scary for people who live. I was born and raised here, and now when I go into a store, I really have situational awareness to see what's going on. Is there a way to stop this madness, or are you guys working on that?
It is madness, like you said. This shouldn't be happening. I mean, can you imagine walking in and all these things are locked up? And, I think about like the impression of family coming in and seeing this. What it gives is a feeling of fear. Our kids are coming in and they're seeing this part of civilization that somewhere that's supposed to be safe. You have a background in law enforcement. We're used to unsafe situations.
Right.
But going into a store is not one of those, right?
Right.
You're
going
not
getting some fruits.
Exactly. I mean, that is not supposed to be. But you have now a new look in these people that work in these stores. This is really a human issue. A lot of people talk about it economically, and yes, it's devastating in terms of the loss numbers, but it also has a real human effect. You have people, this is their first job, they're working the counter, and now you can see them on guard. Right. You see them, they don't know what's going to happen next. They know that there's nothing they can do about it. And that's because our laws are broken. Mm-hmm. Our laws basically have provided this kind of cover. Our laws say that you can come in, you can steal under $950, 100 times in the year, more than 100 times. And the consequence is always the same. It's a misdemeanor. It's mostly a citation, no real consequence. And the result is what we see. And it's an unacceptable result. And we have to change it.
I agree. It's kind of weird going to even shopping malls, or when you're going into any store now, you're just kind of always on alert to see if anyone's going to do anything. And we didn't have that even 5 years ago. It just seems like a new phenomenon where you see one or two and you go, that would never happen in my city. And it's happening across the nation.
Well, the scary ones are when they go into a jewelry store and they use hammers.
To start smashing
now,
glass.
Are these people like our neighbors, or are they coming from other places to do these things?
Well, in San Diego, most of the big smash and grabs, they're not from San Diego. They're coming in from LA, from San Francisco, from other areas, even from out of state. They're traveling crews. Because what has happened is this is big business. This isn't somebody going in and, grabbing a case of
Toothpaste,
beer,
right.
toothpaste,
Right.
kids. No, this is very organized, and it's organized even to the point of being organized around what is the season, meaning Mother's Day is coming, right? And so we see now much more losses of perfume where they're coming in and stealing that. Around Father's Day, we see more Home Depot, more items, not to put it
God,
by,
so funny.
Give me a chainsaw.
But I like perfume. So
Yeah.
well,
maybe
that too. You can get some perfume, but they track it. We track it. We kind of know what's going to be stolen
Wow.
based
The
on
season, right.
because it is a very organized, planned event, and they resell these on the open marketplace online at very high profits.
Wow.
You remember in the old days we had
Yeah, you
pawn
couldn't sell
shops,
it.
Yeah,
right,
pawn
right?
shop.
Right.
You go into the pawn shop, you get their license. Law enforcement, we can track them. Well, now it's not it's an online pawn shop that doesn't even get your identification. So we're trying to change the laws to move with the times and be able to track people on the online marketplaces.
I know
Good.
that
That's
you-
the fight we're having now.
so
I know that happens with drugs. You go and get the street guy. He's selling even up to a pound, whatever. We'll talk fentanyl because weed is legal now in San Diego. But you go for the low level crime. It's organized crime. So that guy is a distributor. So he's getting it from other pockets, chopping it up. It ends up on the street. So how do you climb that ladder to get is under RICO, or how do you bust the guys in the organized crime? Who is doing it on top, sending these crews from LA?
Well, we have an organized retail crime task force. This
Okay.
is how we do it in San Diego. So we really should not be one of the safest urban counties in America because we have all the different threats that are coming our way. We're the fifth largest county. We have a border. We've got so much activity, freeways. But the way we do it is through collaboration. We come in a room, and all of us, federal, state, local, we just act in the best interest of the people in the community. And we work in task forces to really go up the chain and figure out what's going on. So that's the main. That's how we do it.
Did you see the same with the people stealing the catalytic converters? Because all of a sudden it kind of stopped. But for a while, it was every night someone's grabbing catalytic converters from the
they
neighborhood.
took one off my car, and I have an electric car. I'm just
They're under his car for 2 hours.
they're looking
Where
for
is
it.
it? Right.
They guys, I handed them some coffee.
Yeah.
I go, you're never going to find it.
I got it hidden real well. Your Tesla.
And that's how we got them. Is they took so long with your car,
Yeah.
we were able to come out and figure it out. No, we did work on it through a RAT task force, which is a regional auto theft task force. Again, our power really comes from every time we have a big problem, we come together in a task force, whether it's fentanyl, it's the elder scams, it is human trafficking, the thefts, the organized retail theft, is we have a real way of just looking out for the best interest of the community. Nobody wants to be the one that gets all the credit.
Right.
We just come together. We leverage each other's strengths and resources because everybody has their own set of tools, right? As prosecutors, we know how to prosecute. We know how to make sure that everything that they do, the cell downloads, the evidence tracking, the geofencing, all is done correctly, by the book and put together cases that are strong for prosecution. We did 3 cases just to give you a kind of a measure of how big this problem is. 3 cases were $1.25 million in losses.
Jeez.
Just 3 cases. Ulta stores, Victoria's Secret, and Sunglass Hut. I mean, how many sunglasses does one person need? And when you look at the amount that they stole, you think to yourself, this isn't about somebody needing
Right.
something.
No, it's
This
not.
is about greed,
Right.
about organized crime.
Right. It's about profits.
It's about profits, about ripping off, small and big. What really, of course, it gets to me when they steal from anyone. But
Right.
the small
The
business
small mom and
owners,
pop store, right.
Oh,
They can't recover.
It hurts your heart
Right.
so much. When I go out, I met with this in San Isidro small perfume shop owner. He told me something that stuck with me, and I use it everywhere I go, including in U.S. Congress when I testified recently on this problem, to alert them that we need more resources. We need better task forces that are organized. We need better laws for the online marketplaces.
All right.
But the example I used is this poor man who's been in business now puts his cheap perfume in front,
Right. Still that.
knowing it's going to be stolen.
Right.
Just to safeguard his more expensive perfume. That's unacceptable. That is not the rule of law. We cannot allow this.
Have you heard about these gang members or whoever they are? I don't know who they are, but they're not targeting retail stores. They're targeting high-end homes and doing some type of bizarre burglary where they can turn cameras off. Or
That was like a year ago.
but is that happening here too?
That is happening.
Yeah.
These are crews of burglary that are very sophisticated. And unfortunately, many of them are also not local. They come from LA, different places, but they also are unfortunately tied to really messed up visas that, some of the Chilean gangs come in. And the problem is it's the same operation, but different actors.
Right.
They come in the country, they leave the country, they're replenished.
Right.
So law enforcement has a harder time
Difficult
tracking
time.
them. So that's where we want to put the alert out, and we did, for communities to know what to look for. And their modus operandi is that they rent cars that are higher end, they study the neighborhood, they blend into the neighborhood
Right.
so that
They're invisible.
people aren't, they really take their time watching and seeing when the owners leave, because their purpose is not to confront an owner, their purpose is the money. They know how to come in. So one of the words we put out is, don't assume if it's a nice car, be on alert. Don't stereotype,
Right.
who's in
Right.
your neighborhood.
No
That's-
profiling.
Right.
And then the other thing is a lot of people have alarms on their lower story level, the first ground level, but not
Oh,
on
but
the second
top.
level.
Got it.
And they go right.
Bring the ladder.
They
go to-
climb up to the bedrooms where the safes usually are.
Right.
They break in and they know exactly what they're doing. So go ahead and upgrade, if you're able, so that you protect the second story and you don't have things where they'd be expected, with a big
Right.
sign that says the safe is here.
I have a good technique that what Frank and I do, we don't own anything. We're like,
Yeah.
if they want a $200 Walmart television,
Is it-
they can come in.
Yeah, get the safe in my house. It has no money.
like-
They're
it's
gonna be
empty.
drilling into it all day, and
They want
open up
they can
and
get my
cry.
birth
They'll
certificate.
probably bring it back. No, but I understand that it's called hiding in plain sight.
Right.
And so they
Exactly.
cruise around, they talk, they have the verbiage, they probably wave, and then all of a sudden you just don't notice them, and they're walking up to a house, and people usually don't notice.
Well, they're scoping
Exactly.
it. They're probably around there at some point,
do you
chasing
guys-
the neighborhood.
Yeah, do you guys have? I was wondering about your camera systems. You have certain cameras in certain cities. Is there someone that's watching those cameras all the time? I mean, maybe I think you got something with Homeland Security and together, or no? There's nothing like that.
No,
So you
in
don't-
fact, as you know, there was that big
You have to turn 'em off?
controversy
Right.
to turn them off.
Turn 'em off.
And the way the cameras, this streetlight cameras are set up is if a crime occurs,
Then you can go
you
look.
can go in and look, and there's a whole procedure for it. So they're not active cameras. They're based on trying to solve a crime. And thank goodness, they've been reactivated. Several murders, would have never been solved without those cameras.
Right.
And can you imagine the family's grieving already, but you
Right.
can't give them a
Closure.
resolution
Right.
because somebody's hung up on, that you're supposed to have privacy as you're walking in the open street, committing a crime. I don't think there's anywhere in the Constitution where that's protected.
Right. I have a question here about fentanyl. So I have a family member who's involved in law enforcement, and when we shut down, the government shut down the opioids, whether it's a Vicodin or a Oxycontin or whatever, and they said, okay, we have an opioid crisis, we're going to shut this down. It created kind of a new drug. And then all of a sudden the fentanyl started coming in. So in your agency, is there any push to also address the demand as well as trying to stop the supply? Because it seems like people are still taking it, even though they know it can kill them.
So fentanyl is obviously a huge problem. And I know you've personally invested and had ideas and good ideas to work on it from the school end, which is very important. That's the demand part. That's the prevention part. That's stopping, because the later you have a kid even experiment with drugs, the better chance you have that they're not going to become addicted,
Correct.
right? Because the young brain, we know research after research, is just different than the adult brain. It if you start using early, whether it's tobacco, alcohol, marijuana, hard drugs, it is going to have a different impact. And so the prevention in the schools is the way to address the demand, to lower the demand. But the other way is to make sure that treatment is available so that people who do become addicted don't have to become so desperate as to seek a killer substance like fentanyl, that there is an effective treatment modality, which we support through treatment courts in our system, and they are very effective. It's very interesting. The two biggest killer drugs are methamphetamine and fentanyl. And methamphetamine is more difficult to treat. There is not a medicine for it. But the opioids actually have a medically assisted treatment that's very effective, that works, that really reduces the cravings and other things. But people don't know it exists, and they don't think there is treatment out there, and there is. But one of the important things we need to do is we need to return to a curriculum that educates our kids about the dangers of drugs. It's very, very important. In 2009, the state took away the funding, which is unbelievable.
Right.
And so
Saying
here,
just say no, just say yes. It's
Yeah,
like, why'd
right.
you do that?
Basically. So we've done a lot to come back into the schools, to work with school districts, to educate parents, and that is resulting in very positive numbers of reductions of kids who are getting Xanax online, or so they think, but instead they're getting fentanyl, because everything that doesn't come from your
college
doctor,
kids, right.
college kids too.
Is there a way to track the online sale of drugs to kids? Can you catch them?
So this is a beautiful question, and again, it goes back to that we have not kept up with our laws with the online markets, right? So we've been talking about this, that there needs to be more regulation, because people go online thinking it's safe. Well, I bought something online, so it's safe, so why not buy my prescription there? But if it's not coming from your doctor or pharmacy, you're going to be in big trouble. It's going to have fentanyl. Also, I believe that the marketplaces, while we want to encourage an open marketplace, that the marketplaces have a responsibility. They're platforms.
Right.
They have algorithms that make you buy anything they want you to buy, but they don't use those algorithms to detect the sale of drugs or sale of pornography or sale of other really terrible things. They're not really fulfilling their responsibility.
So they could do the reverse then and create those algorithms that could target those people and then block them, essentially.
That's what I think.
Right.
I mean, for years we had Backpage, which was like an open source of selling kids for human trafficking. And they knew it. In fact, they actually had algorithms where they would go in and a child is being sold online, and the platform would correct the language because it could be detected by law enforcement.
Wow.
So our task force, our human trafficking task force, would have a harder time, because the language that we put in to reverse engineer and find these kids online, they would clean up the language and say, basically use this instead of this, knowing law enforcement is onto them. So they were so blatant, we were able to shut them down. There was a major action by the Attorney General, and DAs joined in it, and it's gone now. That site is gone.
What's a punishment if somebody is caught trafficking a person, a minor? I know what I think it should be, but what is it in reality?
Well, it can be up to a life sentence with the possibility of parole. But there you have to really prove force, fraud, and coercion with a child. But you could get up to 12 years, which we go after those cases even without using force, because anything where you're exploiting a child for commercial sex, you're getting a profit. That is human trafficking, and that has a high cost. But the cost should be a lot higher, because the cost only goes for traffickers. But what about those buyers?
They should have they should have a more stringent.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
They should be
give
locked
them
up.
life.
Yeah, give them life.
Just take away the buyers.
So
It's
because
disgusting.
that's what's fueling the pockets of the traffickers, right? So we need to address the buying also. We have not great laws. We need better laws on human trafficking, but we don't have anything that really addresses the demand, the buyers.
I heard that the money, there's more profit in selling a child for organs than there is for sex. Is that happening at our border?
There's.
I mean, I know that's a dark question, but I worry about my kids. I got 2 young kids, and I don't want them to get kidnapped. So what's going on with that?
There's a lot of information about organ trafficking, and we have not found it in the United States. But we obviously are always concerned about it, because anything that starts anywhere, and of course we're concerned because these are still kids and
Right, they're
people,
humans.
they're humans. But human trafficking is so dark, those people will do anything for profit. They will, use a child, sell them like a slice of pizza. This has been obviously a passion for me, and was there as an originating member of the Human Trafficking Task Force.
Yeah, you did a lot.
Fought to create our own unit for it. But again, the only way we win on these really complex, really diabolical, organized crime is if we address it both from the prosecution, tough prosecution, going after them, strong laws, but also from the prevention of educating our kids, because believe it or not, most of our cases, well over 80%, are not the kidnaps off the street. They are psychological kidnap, using social media to groom children into
volunteer.
Yeah.
to think that they're voluntarily
they're
going
fine.
into this.
Right.
Exactly.
And then the parents come and talk to me. I'm fine. There's nothing here.
Exactly.
That's the
Brainwashing.
worst.
Just recently, we did this operation called Operation Better Pathways, where we assembled like 200 officers from the task force, the DAs and U.S. attorneys and everybody. And there were a couple of streets we were very concerned about, child trafficking and other trafficking. We recovered 8 kids in 2 weeks, the youngest being a 13-year-old.
Oh.
And, it's really amazing. This kid, when recovered, expressed that this was her choice. Her choice to be dropped off at 2 a.m. to be sold in a town that she didn't belong to. She was from out of state. It took about a couple of months of trauma therapy.
Right.
And 2 months later now, we get a text from her to the detective, the main detective, who's one of my investigators on the task force. And it is just the most heartwarming text about how she's now with her grandmother. She really thinks she needs more help for the nightmares and the trauma. She's now dealing with the fact that this was a horrible thing that happened to her and not a choice,
Right.
Yeah.
And the trauma that follows. So this is the stuff that keeps us going. Obviously, it's amazing.
What's it like speaking? I'm asking these dark questions, but I'm most curious about them.
That's my life. So
You're
welcome.
I know. So imagine what for our followers and listeners, the DA is in charge, like I said, to handle felonies. The city attorney handles infractions and misdemeanors. So the DA gets everything that's bad: rape, arson, maiming, cutting off somebody's ear, murder, rape, child molesting. What's it like when you have to approach the parents on a murder victim and you have to tell them? Are you the one who talks to them, or how does that work?
Usually it is the police that talk to them first
Right.
and the coroner's investigator. But at some point, I talk with them. Because if there's a prosecution, especially if it's a special circumstance case where somebody's child, young or old, it doesn't matter, no parent should, live beyond their children. It is always one of the hardest things I ever have to do, to sit as close as I am to you and be talking to them about what this means. What would justice look like, knowing that there is no justice? We can't bring back their kid. But what does it look like to make them at least have some peace about putting this piece of it, the criminal justice piece, behind, and feel that we got them accountability? What is it that they're looking for? And for each family, it's different, but it's very interesting that no matter what walk of life, what ethnicity, every human who's lost something like that, they want to see accountability and they want to see justice. And they're willing to go to the ends of the earth, and we describe to them the process and give them options to sit in court. They want to sit in court. They want to see it as horrible and tough as it is. I'm amazed by the courage of these families. I'm amazed by the courage of even like families that have lost a loved one to fentanyl. You see some of these parents, they want to talk to other parents. They want to use their experience to save another child. I think there's something, I see all this terrible thing in humanity, the worst in humanity, but at the same time, in the same breath, you see the courage and the resilience and the goodness of the first responders, your police, my team, and then all of the community and the families.
So,
Can I ask her a tough question again? Sorry. Go ahead.
you can ask a tough. I have a tough question
Here's a tough
too.
question.
I have a tougher one.
I have mine's
Mine's way more tougher than your. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to take it from. We have border problems. Maybe we talk if we have enough time. Prop 47, the crime's going up, but let's talk about what's going on right now today in the world. There's some stuff happening in the Middle East. That's going to have an impact in America. We know that terrorists have crossed our border. We have stopped them. We have identified them. A lot of them have been on lists from Afghan and different areas, 100% on a terror watch list. And we have the getaways. Those are the people the Border Patrol says, hey, there's 200 people coming my way. Some of them are going to get away. I can only arrest so many people. Do you have the training, or are you guys ready for something to happen like they just had where the guy went into the, shot up the people, the 5 terrorists, all armed, and went into a arena? Are you prepping for something like that based on what's going on in the Middle East and just in terrorism on that front? Do you even deal with that?
Well, we always deal with things that have to do with public safety. On our soil, San Diego County, then we are dealing with it. Obviously, even though this is a federal authority, there's not enough resources, right? It is an overwhelming issue, and it's an issue that Congress needs to solve, right? So that's happening. But we still have a responsibility to not say, well, it's a federal problem and they haven't solved it. So we come together, we get briefings by the U.S. Border Patrol, we get information, and we work through it to make sure that we are on alert. So we're always on alert. We get FBI briefings, I get briefings, my team gets briefings, and we are on alert. We also provide, like recently we provided at our Family Justice Center a training for faith places, synagogues, churches, mosques, because they're targets, right?
Right.
In order to detect, in order to understand what are the signs, in order to report early anything suspicious, how to react. So we do a lot to make sure that we don't just say, this is
Federal
a
problem,
federal problem. We say, okay, what can we do about it? What is our piece to
Right.
make sure our community is safe? Recently, we had a conference that we led with the FBI to update our school threats protocol, knowing that schools are always a soft target,
Right.
to make sure that we're following the protocol, that we are doing everything to keep our schools safe and other target institutions. So that's how we deal with it. I mean, does it keep us up at night? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we do the best we can with a system that's not working well right now.
Okay, can I say my tough question
Let's
now?
go. Let's see what your tough question
But it's not
is.
really that tough. I want to know what case, and there's probably a lot of them, were you the most proud of, or influenced you, or inspired you? Do you have one that popped into your head and you can just share it with us?
Well, many of them are really special, and I think about them. I get notes still from family members. I just did a parole hearing a couple of weeks ago on a rape murder case and reconnected with the family because our state has this crazy law that they now parole people, even murderers, at
yeah.
50 years old.
Yeah.
So, so I'm still very much in touch with all these cases and my own cases, having spent 28 years on the ground before becoming the district attorney. But I think the one that I always think about is the school shooting that happened at the Carlsbad Elementary School in 2010.
What happened there?
A gunman came over their fence and he started shooting up kids. There was 123 kids out on the playground. 50 of them were like in the line of fire. 2 little girls were shot. They were life-flighted and miraculously survived. I mean, he was aiming at their heart, but they kind of like went like this, and it went through and through their arm, and they lived. But this was an extremely traumatic experience. So a crime scene, can you imagine, with that
School.
many child witnesses? They're like 5, 6, 7 years old. You're
Jeez.
trying to make sure they don't get re-traumatized, but yet you need the evidence and the testimony in court, because that's our system. It's a system of confrontation. Certainly, we didn't want to give them a deal, so we needed every piece of evidence. It was tremendous, and the trial prep and the trial took 2 years. It was quite a huge task. Carlsbad Police Department chief, who's now retiring, Mickey Williams, an amazing chief. He was my sergeant detective at the time. One thing that happened is the meetings with the parents were critical to make sure the parents knew exactly what we're doing. They had no surprises, that they trusted us. The principal, Tracy Armstrong, meaning the whole school family became part of our family, and being able to get a guilty verdict and to make sure he didn't get away with his false claim of being insane. He knew exactly. No one shoots up kids
Right.
without having issues, right? But he knew exactly what he was doing, who he was shooting
He knew it was
at,
wrong.
knew
Right.
it was wrong, but still wanted to make a statement.
Right.
Like many of these psycho killers, they want to make it. They want notoriety.
How
they want to
did-
make a statement.
How did they stop them?
There was some construction going on. Some construction workers heroically jumped on top of him. Police began to pull up. They caught him. I mean, it was a case about everybody doing their part. Even the kids had gone through drills, and they knew what to do. As soon as that alarm went off, they did what they needed to do. They went, they followed their protocol, as little as they are. This kind of brought back the idea that having protocols in place, having that training, that
muscle memory.
Right.
is so critical. But I think what I'm most proud of is not just doing the case, but committing that we're going to use this as a way to save lives. So we knew in this case, we learned that the shooter had announced his intention
Where?
to his brother by email, telling people, but nobody took him seriously. So we were determined to make sure that there is a protocol that everyone follows and that we don't take any threat lightly. We don't say that's a joke.
Right.
He's never going to do it.
Right.
That we actually, or move kids from one school to another because they don't want to deal with them anymore without letting their file go with them. So the new school doesn't know they've made this threat before. So we established a first of its kind that many are now calling us and getting this protocol across the protocol with all 42 school districts where everybody knows their role. Every threat is investigated to its conclusion. We know exactly what we're supposed to do. And while I can't openly talk about it, I can tell you just in this year, we've had 2 that were much more than just thinking. They were actually in the
Right.
active phases. And so interrupting that, preventing a school threat, it's something that we
You
work
save
for
people,
every day.
You saved a bunch of lives.
Yeah, people don't even know.
But they don't
There's
even
no
know because it
You only
never
hear
happened.
Right, never happened.
That's a big deal.
Right.
You don't go you don't have a headline that says because we don't
Right.
want to scare people, right?
Right.
But it's really a credit to everybody. I mean, I have a great team leader for this, passionate about it. I have a great team. I have to mention everything I've talked about. This is a team
Right.
that I want the community to be proud of.
How many-
This is 1,000 people.
How many district attorneys, deputy district attorneys work in your office?
I have 335.
Wow. And then
335.
support staff like investigators and all of that stuff.
So it's 1,000 total. But it is for 3.3 plus million
Right.
people.
Yeah, you need more.
There's 18 cities.
Right.
We have 39 unincorporated areas, and we're regionally located. So we're actually really lean for the amount of
Right.
cases and communities that we protect. But it's a very dedicated team. People would be proud to watch them and how they work.
How many cases do you get a year?
We have about 40,000 felonies a year, and then in the outlining outside of the city of San Diego, we also do the misdemeanors, but not in the city of San Diego.
Okay.
Oh, got it.
But we do the felonies everywhere across the county, including the city.
40,000.
Where is that on track with the other cities? Are we high or low, or seems like a high number?
Well, we are
I'm gonna see
we
how
are
many that-
active. So,
Yes.
a
Google
high
it.
number doesn't mean that
I'm
you
gonna
have
spell
a
like this.
higher number of crime. It means you're very engaged,
Right,
right?
very engaged. You can't-
Because
So they-
sadly, you see prosecutors across, especially in some of the big cities, and I don't know why they're prosecutors. They don't want to prosecute.
Right.
They get on average, counting weekends,
Right.
because I just divided it, 110 felonies cases a day.
day.
That's if they didn't take Christmas off or New Year's Eve off. 110 a day. And
Well,
that's
and we don't take those off. I mean, crime doesn't take those off. So
no, I mean, but now how do you?
What's a major crime here? Like what's the felony that you see over and over?
I think the big drug sales and thefts are the big major crimes. But we have one of the lowest homicide rates, and one of the big reasons for it is we have one of the highest homicide solvability rates. When you look around the nation and you see very high homicide rates, you also see that they're not solving their homicides.
Right.
So they keep repeating the gang shootings, all of that. I'm very proud of our law enforcement, and we also don't give up on old cases. We have a very strong cold case
case, yeah.
protocol.
Do you? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
Everyone loves that.
Those
Cold
are
case
cool.
files.
well, those are so cool.
Yeah.
Now, I've been on some of those calls where they've let me be the one to tell the family that the case was solved.
Oh my gosh.
And
How
from like
exciting.
20, 30 years
Right.
ago, it is
The best feeling.
unbelievable.
Right.
You could see like they think, is this like a
is
joke,
true?
candid
Right.
camera? But
Right.
then they recognize me, so they feel like I'm not going to be
Right.
joking about that. and their shoulders begin to drop, and it's like a whole weight has
Huge
been
weight.
taken
Do they ever
off
say
of them.
things like, I knew it was that person, I knew it was him, like I suspected that person, or is it, it's
No,
just,
because most of our cold cases, most are a real like unknown.
right.
You know, it's
Somebody was just cruising around and did a
they
crime of
happened-
opportunity.
or something. So it is. They don't really recognize them. But
Do you-
it's amazing. It's
do you
an amazing
have-
feeling.
Do you have any type of like a wellness thing? Because it seems like this would take a lot out of a person, especially when you see those murder cases and your deputy DAs bond so closely with the family. But it's like any law enforcement, like we're both in ex-law enforcement. Is there any, do they need a debriefing every once in a while?
You're talking about the agents?
I'm talking about the deputy DAs because
Yeah.
they're like,
course.
some are like, but is that part of your...
You know, we're becoming more better at it because I think we kind of grew up like just
Doing
thinking
it.
tough it
Yeah,
out,
right,
you know,
right.
that
Like
kind of
counselor?
feeling.
What's that?
But as time goes on and we learn, we definitely see the secondhand trauma. And I think one of the reasons it's a little bit different right now than it was even a few years ago is everything's on camera, right?
Right.
So
see
our DAs are experiencing the crime scenes. They're seeing the crime scene photos. They're also seeing the terrible things that these predators do to kids, and they put it online and they record it. We're able to capture so much digital and so much information that you know how they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but it's a terrible picture,
Right.
and it's implanted. So we are working with our team to offer more rotations so that they have a healthy way without feeling any kind of like they've let anybody down, but rotate out of some of these very intense child murder units into units that are still important, but they're not dealing with that gore every single day. We're also, we instituted a wellness program because the reality is if we are not well, we cannot serve well. You
Right.
know? So to allow people to decompress, we have a counseling service that helps us.
So you're doing it. You did it.
So we are doing it, but this is an area that is important to me, but one that, you know, over the years in both law enforcement and prosecution, it's been neglected.
So what do you do? I know you don't like to talk about yourself, but what do you do to de-stress? Like you see all this. I mean, every
She
day.
cooks. She cooks
Cooks?
Greek food. Really good Greek food.
How did you know?
I'm just guessing. I don't know. I'm just like,
You know, I'm
those grape leaf. What's it called?
it's stuffed grape.
Dolmas.
Dolmas.
Yeah, I love those.
Those
they're
are
so
good.
good.
Can you make me some?
She
of
brought
those
some.
things?
They're in the back.
She's solving a case, rolling it.
Exactly.
I'll be here all night.
Throws a couple of plates up against the fireplace.
I think, you know,
Hoppa.
I try to focus on the positive.
Right.
No, I always
all
noticed that
the
about
hope,
you. Right.
All the hope out there. And, you know, things that I do. We just opened the Family Justice Center in North County, One Safe Place. It is so stunning. The inside is so beautiful. When victims walk in, they feel like we gave them our best. It's incredible,
great.
right? And we've had over 4,500 victims come in
Already?
a year and a half
Already?
with many of them with kids in tow. And the stories from there, I read their little notes, and there's such amazing, you know, kids saying, you know, this is the best place in the world. We thought Disneyland was the
Right.
best place, but they love being there. So I try to engage in those hope moments and read the positive things, and I also try not to go with what's in style at the moment. I think it's very dangerous. It's kind of like today it's in style
new
to
fad.
prosecute, or
Right.
today is not in style to prosecute,
Right.
or, you know, how about just like a balanced system that holds people accountable at the right level? So if you've got a kid who's made a mistake, well, we have a great diversion program for
Right.
you. We don't want to make you a criminal for life.
Institutionalized in prisons.
Right. We don't want to do that. But then if you're the person who just wants to rip off and hurt people every day, you're held accountable. Right. I mean, it's a balanced system.
Do you ever just call one of the other district attorneys? I'm not going to name any district attorneys in California, and just go, hey, like, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you, like, don't you know that your job is to put people in jail and uphold the law? Because there's some DAs in California that are just nationwide, but they seem like they're asleep at the wheel. Like, how does that work?
I don't call them. I just take action to protect our cases. So, for example, when LA announced that they're not going to do any gun allegations, so I took my cases back because because we're so contiguous that the same crime rings sometimes begin in San Diego and they commit more higher crimes, like in LA, right? And it's custom for court efficiency to take that whole case and put it in one location that has the higher crimes. I've had to take my cases back because I have a commitment to my people here. I don't want my cases sold, down as nothing. So I take more action. I don't talk. But sometimes I'm on interesting panels. You can kind of Google it with those DAs, and it can get a little heated. And where I feel really sad for crime victims where their voice is not in the picture at all. I mean, you should have a system where you protect the rights of victims, the right of the community to be safe, and the rights of the accused. You can do all three, right? There's no reason not to be able, if you're doing your constitutional duty, to do all three. And you shouldn't just pick the rights of criminals over victims.
So when does your term come up for DA?
It's like 2027. It's a while.
Okay, good.
Yes.
We need you around. Did they make it 6 years?
For this term is 6 years because they wanted to put it in the presidential election.
Yeah, they did. That was kind of strange, but the sheriff, same way. I go, you signed up for 4, but looks like you're doing 6. But that's good.
What do you do when somebody like who's listening to us feels like they're a victim of a sexual abuse or trafficking, where they're probably thinking like, this is not good, but I'm stuck and I don't know how to get out of it? Because I'm sure there's some like that where they just stay and live in a house, get abused, but accept it. How do you direct one of those people? What would you tell them to do?
Well, I would say that
resource.
You have a way to get out. You have a way. So, in San Diego County, you can go to a family justice center like ours, and you don't even have to decide that you're ready to prosecute your trafficker.
Right.
We will help you still.
Right.
It's not conditioned, the help that we give you. Of course, we'd like to get your trafficker because they're on to using the next person.
Right.
But we see that sometimes our victims, it takes them 6 months, a year before they're ready to help someone else. And we respect that, or never, right? And that's okay. So go to a family justice center, go to SanDiegoDA.com, our website, and find one. There's one downtown that is run by the city attorney. There's one in San Marcos that we run, the DA's office. And then the other thing is you can call 888-3737, 888, which is the National Human Trafficking number, and they will localize your resources for you, find shelters, whatever is appropriate for you in your area. And, of course, if you're ready to report to police, then call 911.
Summer, real quick, it seems like when I listen to you talk, you have developed a system that could be scaled. So if you're talking about a business, putting it all together, it seems like you've done it. And now it should be scaled. And all these other DAs like Mark was talking about, they may not have it. Do you take this system that you have and share it with other DAs? Is there a way that the whole country can see that, hey, Summer Stephan's in San Diego has it together, border state, crimes, Are you going to scale this out, or did you do that, or how do you do that? Because when you're talking about it, it seems like, well, you know how to do it. You developed it. You created it. You proved the method that it's working. You have beautiful wellness centers. If you take that and put it in all these other, Chicago, New York, Detroit, Florida, Michigan, L.A., have you talked to these people to copy your system? If not, we can help you, the Power Brothers.
I think the way I do it is, that was one of the reasons I accepted the honor of becoming president of the National DAs Association is with the
There you go.
wanting to be able to be there to share. You don't tell another elected this is how you want to do it.
You share.
But hopefully, if you share your successes and also things that
Failures,
you've learned, you absolutely make the whole country better, which is, as an American, you should want to do every day, because your victims are everywhere, right? And actually in today's society, like I said, like my little 13-year-old gal, she's not even from San Diego, so I want to protect her in the state she's in. So we do that. We have some of our programs as best practices. We were, humbly named the best 5 district attorney's office in the nation, which was the Manhattan Institute report. So we've gotten some calls from that to see how, what we've done. So we are very welcoming, and every day we answer calls. We give people our protocols for whether it's school threats, elder scams, fentanyl, youth prevention, prosecution team 10, homicide team 10, which is how we prosecute fentanyl cases. Everything that we do, we are so happy to share because we want to make everyone safe.
Right.
But we do it in a way where we're not telling others, but we're welcoming their questions and sharing.
Of one more area, because we've hit a lot of them, but what about domestic violence? Because, the judge will issue a restraining order, and you see these getting broken, and then it doesn't seem like
much happens.
Yeah, hey, the guy showed up at my doorstep, or like, how do you deal with those guys? Well, I'm not. Sometimes it's girls, humans. Yeah, we don't
cover
want
everyone.
Yeah, we just or non-gender binary, whatever, whatever it is.
We'll just say humans.
Humans. Yeah.
So what was your question? Because you got me confused. What was
my question? Was what happens?
Domestic violence?
Yeah, like. You must have a domestic violence unit or something like that. Can you share
we
that?
absolutely have a domestic violence. And it's a great question because actually domestic violence, we have about 17,000 cases a year. So
a year?
It's
I don't want to do the math on that.
I'd call that an epidemic.
That's bad.
It is a big issue.
Big deal.
And one of the reasons it's very important is because domestic violence is one of those because it happens in the home. It affects the whole family and community. And we know that children that grow up in domestic violence homes, they tend to be more likely to accept being victims, so generational, the next generation, or abusers. They think love hurts like that. That's love. That's how you express love, is through controlling someone and abusing them physically, emotionally. And so it's a very important issue for us. We deal with it through a specialized unit. And one of the things that we do in the family justice centers is the rest of the story, meaning we can prosecute the case, but what happens with that woman who has depended on the abuser guy to pay all the bills? And now they go back to that abuse because they can't extract themselves. Someone has to put food on the table. It's easier said than done. Just leave him. But if you don't have a source of income, you don't have a roof over your head. For some of our immigrant population who they may have their green card, but they're afraid they're going to lose their immigration status, and that's used against them. So those are all the holistic resources that we look at. But let me tell you one cool thing that we did that is, I just love this stuff, the innovation stuff that changes a path of something, is we follow the research, and Dr. Campbell did a research, and what her research was, what behavior is a predictor that this domestic violence is going to turn into murder.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
And what is the top behavior? Strangulation. If you put your hands around the throat of someone,
like
it
in a
is-
fight? In a fight?
no, at
No.
home, domestic violence. If
That's
you,
what I mean in a DV.
in a
Right.
DV,
Right.
you put your hands around someone, it is the number one predictor that is
That's
going to
gonna turn to murder.
escalate to murder.
Ooh.
Because it's something about that power and control. I have your life,
Yeah.
right? More than whether you have mental health issues or you're drinking or you use drugs
Right.
or all the other factors pale in
That's a
comparison.
weird
That's
thing. I wouldn't,
different,
yeah, I
right?
wouldn't think about
I wouldn't
that.
even think that either.
Right, and
So-
I'm sure there's some people listening right now that are going like,
That guy choked me.
yeah, I got you.
That
My
guy put
boyfriend
his
just
hand.
choked me 3 times and I passed out.
Right.
If that
Get out of that
happened-
relationship. He's
that-
going to kill you. Oops.
No,
Oh,
that you're absolutely right. That's perfect. I wanted to leave your listeners with something. If somebody's putting their hands around your throat, that is time to get help and get out.
Can they call your
because
office?
They can call our office. We would work with them, refer them to the
Right.
right things, but they can call our office. Our victim services number is right on SanDiegoDA.com. So
And the kidnapping, or wait, what was the number? 888-373-7888?
Exactly.
And that's for what?
human trafficking.
Human trafficking.
To get
so
resources for
so
human
any
trafficking.
person out there who feels they're in some type of human trafficking, and the reason why I say that is because we're in San Diego, we're by the border. So this is where it all happens. Get that number, 888-373-7888. And is that like calling, what's the difference between that and calling 911?
Well, 911 is for emergencies.
Oh,
but-
okay. So this is
but
just like,
if
I'm in a weird
this is-
situation, I need help.
Right. I've just been in this for a while, and now I'm just ready to get out. But it doesn't mean you can't call 911 because you don't know if the next incident is gonna
Right.
That's it.
be
Right.
it. You know, the next time he pushes, does something with you. So people can't get in trouble unless they're faking a 911 call. They don't get in trouble because it's not enough of an emergency,
Right,
right?
right.
They can call and still get
We're gonna
services.
we have to put that out, that segment,
Right.
for everybody in the United States to see.
Right.
So it gives.
The
I'm going
number?
to say females. No, that if some guy puts his hands on your neck,
Chances are,
Yeah.
he'll end up murdering you.
Right.
Or as opposed if he slaps you.
As opposed to,
Anything, right?
it's all bad.
Anything, a
It's all
punch.
bad, but I'm saying
yeah.
like once you go
but
to
that's
the
the one,
choking,
yeah, that's the one that leads to a murder.
right. That's
And it's pretty
studies
incredible.
show murder will happen.
You're so right. So we instituted a protocol. We changed the police report. The police report now for domestic violence has a form that mandates they ask about strangulation. Did hands go around
See?
your neck?
Yeah.
When San Diego did that, we then measured 5 years before we put the protocol, and 5 years since since I became DA, and
Right.
we put that protocol, and the number of strangulation murders, it was 13%. It became 2.3%.
See? That's the kind of stuff that when you're the
It's
president,
works.
you can
Right.
share that form and how you went up and did that with all the other DAs because they should all know that.
Yeah,
But maybe they do. But
It's really neat.
That's a
San
big
Diego
deal.
is like an incubator for innovative law enforcement and public safety. It's not one where I go to my police chiefs and say, we read the study, we think we should, and they say, oh no, we don't want to do more work. That is not my police chiefs or sheriff. They're
Right.
amazing.
No.
They always say, like, what can we do to save a life? If this is well supported, corroborated, let's do it. And that's what I think keeps us on this cutting edge of a very modern law enforcement moving forward and public safety.
very good.
You know what, Summer? This has been enlightening for me. And I love law enforcement. I was former law enforcement, rescuer, lifeguard, fire department. But there's something I notice about you every time you speak. You're right. You always are in a good mood, and you always have this aura around you that is a positive one. And from what you see and for what I've seen, I'm not really like you. I feel like, hey, I'm going to watch myself. But you have that good positive aura, and that's what I really enjoy about you. And I want to congratulate you that you got that nomination because that is huge. only 3 females in 75 years. You've been helping San Diego and the Supporter State for years. My brother and I 100% support you, and we can do whatever we can on our podcast. And this stuff affects real estate because Mark and I are real estate brokers. So when you have crime committed in neighborhoods, when you have trafficking here, when you have drugs over here, it 100% impacts, like you said, the culture, the environment, and the real estate, the houses,
The community.
the community. So it's really good to know, and I really want to thank you for being here because I know you don't do that many podcasts. I know you're super busy. 17,000 felonies a year, and you came here to talk to us and get the word out. Thank you so much.
40,000.
40,000.
Yeah, she probably got like 7 during this podcast. Flew in the office.
Sure, it's 100
I better
a day.
make
It's
a
100
call.
Yeah.
109 a
As
day.
soon as she gets back on her phone, she's going to be solving
like,
the
oh, we gotta-
cases.
Well, I mean, the Powell brothers, I mean, I've known you for many years, and from the time with real estate of making sure that homes don't leave prescriptions in cabinets.
Right, exactly. We got
your
rid of it.
involvement, every piece, that is what makes our community so terrific.
Right.
And we really feel like a small, big town, right?
Exactly.
Right.
And I think it's because of, men and community members like you that we thrive together.
Right,
So
we
I
all gotta
really
work together.
appreciate
Work
it.
together. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you
that's
so
it.
much.
Hey, thank you for tuning in. Hit that subscribe. Let us know if you like this or not. And we'll see you next time on Just to Let You Know with the Powell Brothers.